Good afternoon, or is a cool, grey and breezy day. It is Wednesday the 19th of October and I'm in the reading nook with a nice hot cup of tea. And a parcel to unbox. So I've got a knife. And what I've got in here is the Cursed Library. And that might give you a clue there as to which role-playing game it's for. Here we go. Shiver, the Cursed Library. The back. So, Shiver, the Cursed Library. A military operation discovers horrors aboard a lost ship in the Arctic Circle. A group of 1980s kids explore a haunted house on Halloween night. A Wild West posse investigates mysterious disappearances at a mountain mine. A crew answers a distress signal in the uncharted depths of deep space, only to find more than just survivors. Broken down with no way home, a group search for help at an old farmhouse through the cornfields. The Cursed Library contains these 5 tales of horror across the ages to be used with the Shiver tabletop role-playing game. Now, Shiver is published by Parable Games, as is the supplement, and it's a British generic horror role-playing game which draws from basically horror movies as its inspiration, and can do a wide variety of subgenres. So cosmic horror, classic vampire or werewolf movies, slasher movies, folk horror. It runs the gamut. So inside, basically a nice cover, and these symbols, by the way, are to be found on the dice in the game. It uses its own proprietary dice mechanic. So that's carried on here, and then after we've got an introduction into horror, and it says horror is a broad church, and that's perfectly the case. And I think from the breadth of games available, scenarios available in the supplement, that's demonstrated. So we get to welcome to the library, and we've got a guide on how to use these scenarios. And what it comes down to is, it's telling you what the director knows, the setup, character guide and so on, word information and plots, story chapters, and this is how the particular scenarios are constructed, using the story text, and then finally tools, not rules. Here's the guiding advice there. How to keep players on track, preparing your scenario, and preparing the first session and managing the intensity. So basically a good guide to running these scenarios, how to get started before we delve into the first of the 5 scenarios. And what catches there, so we've got the first one, the lost ship. This is the one set aboard a ship in the Arctic, and this is an interesting box. Let me show you that. This is the Shiver board certification, and it's giving you all the particulars of the scenario. So for this one, it's telling you, for each of them, it's going to tell you the length of playtime, number of players, subgenre for which of this is sci-fi, body horror, cosmic horror, film age rating 15. So it's using the classifications from the British Board of Film Certification. Content warning: body horror, animal experimentation. Recommended ability level, so that's for the ability level of your player characters. And then watch lists, so The Thing, The Void and Event Horizon, a list of movies which the director should watch to get the feel and tone for this adventure, and then also that your players can watch as well, because hey, they're good movies and they'll be all primed for when they come to play, for example, The Lost Ship. So we've got a setup and what the director knows, as explained earlier in the book, and then we've got a character guide. The character guide is telling you what sort of characters could be in this scenario, which would fit it. We've got a bit of background here. So the USS Morningstar, a research icebreaker ship in the Arctic, has lost all communications with the outside world. Wanting not to lose out on their investment, the US government briefs your team an advanced group of military specialists. And then we get to chapter 1, Barrow. Now, before you think, hold on a minute, Barrow, vampires, 30 Days of Night. Nope. but go watch the film with that anyway. But you know, basically start off in Barrow, the town of Barrow, get out to encountering various creatures on the journey before you encounter the ship itself and start presumably encountering the strangeness, such as whatever that is, weird experimented on or warped rat, or even remnants of the crew really rent through by tentacles. So that's, you know, we are definitely in cosmic horror territory here, as is indicated, as that indicates, and that. So you've got this kind of cartoonish artwork, but it's really still weird and creepy. But the piece de resistance is that. That's a fantastic image. I just want to, it's really. I don't think it's going to be bettered in the book. So, and then of course the other thing about Shiver, it has its own doom clock, which is counting down events, counting down a sort of like clock down to the end, about an hour long. But it's not minute by minute play. It's triggered by the player character's actions and things and other things in the game. So you've got a list of events of there which happen throughout, and sometimes the player characters can actually turn it back. List of items which are useful in the scenario, and of course that the director can use in other games if she wants to run her own and add those in. Then we've got a map of Barrow and an overview of the ship. Okay, see if there's any deck plans of the ship. Well, there aren't, that's a bit disappointing. Then we have All Hallows Eve, and there's its own board of Shiver certification, and this one is Stranger Things, People Under the Stairs, The Haunting. So this is a haunted house on Halloween, and you play kids. There's the haunted house. I really do like the artwork in here. It is excellent. It's a lovely looking book. You know, got elements of the haunted house and basically like an animated suit of armour. And the idea, you know, essentially you are playing kids, you know, even one in a pirate costume who's got access to a lighter, you know, basically going around the haunted house, it's no light, and encountering creepy things like demonic looking Jack-in-the-Box demonic toy, and this is a bit more detailed, I think, in terms of its location. So it's a very much a location kind of based scenario, with lots of things like journals and things to find. Then you've got sort of like the matriarch in the attic, and a stalker in the cellar. Doom clock events, of course, and then at the end of it you've got rules, guidance for expanding the story and adventurous legacy, so stuff that you can carry on with this, tweaking the horror and clues and help and so on. So you've got individual sort of like sections giving advice for the director on how to run a scenario. Then we've got a map of the house. I'm not I've got to admit that's a bit plain. That could be much more interesting in terms of its look. And then we go way out west with Dark Prospects, which is presumably which is the Wild West one, going down a mine, rounding up the posse. And Deadwater Peak, which sounds dangerous all by itself. And then into the pit, they've got sort of like mine delving or cave delving involved here. Scuttling. And then somebody's definitely, somebody's definitely going to bring out the dynamite. We've got notes again, Doom Clock events, Wild West weaponry, and how that changes things, because obviously it's not easy to use. Mind map key. I don't mind the map on that one. That doesn't need to be that detailed, but I think the other maps probably do need to be a bit more interesting and a bit more detailed. Protocol. So this is the Alien Event Horizon Starship Troopers one. And the other thing to mention is that each of these has got a little story content boxed out at the start. So even when you're within a scenario, you can flick back and go, oh, that's there. So that's a nice touch. Oh, and of course, you're in alien territory because you've got an android in sheep's clothing. So it's a nice nod there to Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. And we've got another android there. Before we get into, actually approaching, another downed ship. Not a great illustration, I don't think. There's some good illustrations in there, that's not one of them. Before we encounter more scuttling things. Do you like scuttling things? Like these are the spore spiders. And of course they're going to do their fair share of face hugging if they can, because hey, it's inspired by Alien, and then more of them. So we've got spore spiders and fungal runners. So yeah, and of course it should end up with Escape running away from the giant monster erupting from the bows of the vessel left behind, which in that configuration really does look like the spaceship that the crew of the Nostromo find on the alien planet. And then you've got deck plans as well. Again, they're all right, but not particularly interesting. And then I think this is the last scenario, Mr. Husk. There we go. There's the classification, and this is Children of the Corn: Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And this is the one where you're a group travelling and your car breaks down amidst cornfields in the Midwest. And here we've got some character ideas. This one is, I think, different because it's not particularly tied. You've got a particular genre, but you've got a bit more flexibility in what you can play. So here's the ideas: a group of Vietnam veterans returning from war, travelling together from gig to gig. You're a band, door-to-door salesman, flower power to the max, hippies travelling to San Francisco, group of cultists, or a group of indie filmmakers wanting to get some footage for the next underground horror hit. So you could. This is obviously set sort of like in the 70s, but you could update it to the 90s with the indie film making. So stranded, get to the farm through the cornfields. A shot of that, and then in the barn where you will encounter that, and then that monster, who of course at some point will be let loose upon the player characters as they race through this cornfield, as the Scarecrow wants to scythe them in two. So yeah, so we get down to escape, start the car and get away, and then lastly we've got the Doom Clock events that's found in the story. So that's a quick kind of slasher horror movie to end the collection with. So yeah, that's Shiver the Cursed Library, a collection, an anthology of horror scenarios for the Shiver the role-playing game. You could take these and adapt them to the role-playing game of your choice, in part because the nature of the horror in here is very film-inspired, so tends towards the generic, but you have to provide all the mechanics. But if you've got a copy of Shiver, go with that, because I think these will be a lot of fun as a series of one-shots. And this is a really nice collection, some great artwork in there. Looks to be a sort of like really good collection of horror scenarios. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, please click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with with a parcel containing a book or a game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.